the affiliation each time you ask a question during the press conferences.
Thank goodness for water. Are you serious? Yeah.
Alyssa, Eva, thank you so much for joining us. Very stylish hat. Thank you. We're going to just go ahead and open up the floor for questions. Raise your hand. We've got a microphone that we'll pass to you.
For both of you, what's the feeling the day after? More of relief, or what were the emotions going back to the hotel last night?
There's definitely a big sigh of relief. It's like, yes, we made it. We made it through another round, because that's just all what March Madness is. It's surviving and advancing. No matter how great or how ugly the game was before, at least you made it out. So we're sitting here today, so just very grateful for that.
I think there's also some excitement too. You made it through the first round, and now you have your legs under you, and now it's like, okay, what's next? And it's always looking ahead.
And for you particularly, Eve, I noticed during the game you were really animated on the sidelines. And is in the back of your mind thinking, this might be the last game, and I don't want this to be my last game?
Yeah, I mean, something that's constantly going through my mind is leaving with no regrets. And passion is one thing that is perfectly in my control. And so being able to bring that every night is important. But especially last night, I was like, this isn't going to be my last game. And so I'm going to will it not to be my last game. And that's what it showed on the court.
How were the last 6 minutes watching from the bench? Was that just,
Can you use your microphone, sir? Yeah.
Did that tie your stomach in knots watching the last 6 minutes from the bench?
Oh, without a doubt. I was holding some of my teammates' arms. We're all hooked on the bench together, just anticipating what was going to happen next, because that's what we're all focused on at that moment, and just trying to give all of our energy from the bench to the players on the court, because the game is finished inside the line. So just trying to give as much as I could, even though I was fouled out.
Matt Krause, Tar Heel Sports Network. For either of you, Ohio State, next opponent, I know you've just started the scouting process with the coaches to get ready for tomorrow's game, but who among teams you've played, whether it be in the ACC or other non-conference opponents, do they remind you of?
I don't know if it's because they're also in the Big Ten, but I was thinking Michigan, just because they have some strong post presence, they have perimeter threats, and their style of play and their intensity reminded me of them.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I don't know. I think it's hard for me to draw a direct comparison to some of the ACC teams. But I think the post preparation that we have within the ACC prepares us well for their post presence. And then the shooter, similarly, I think will be prepared.
Matt Andrews, Ohio State Radio. Either of you, two of the better turnover margin teams in the country. You guys are a 4 and change. Ohio State around 6. What makes your defense? We know they press. What makes your defense significantly either similar or different in terms of pressure?
I think we have a relentless defense, and I think that's a thing that a lot of teams struggle with, and especially our intensity. We're very active with our hands, jumping passing lanes, just making it very difficult for other teams to feel comfortable running their offense or even bringing the ball past the half-court line. So I think that's our big advantage there.
Yeah, and the layers of our defense, too. You're not just guarding one person. You're not just trying to get by one person. You're trying to get by every single person. Once you get past one of us, there's bound to be another one of us just standing right there waiting, whether it's in the gaps or it's taking charges or whatever it is. And so I think the layers of our defense also make it difficult for offenses.
We got the mic coming. Yeah. And if you could state your name and organization.
R.L. Bottom, Tar Heel Tribune. Taylor Mikesell, I know you've had limited time to look at your next opponent, but who does she remind you of, and what challenges does she bring tomorrow?
I think she's a great shooter, and so thinking to like conference play, I think like a Georgia comes to mind. She's not necessarily their immediate point guard, so that's where it's a little bit different, but the speed in which she can get her shots off and the number of shots that she'll take from the three-point line is similar in my mind to a Georgia.
And then what about Thierry? Taylor Thierry.
What number is that?
Number 2.
Oh, 2.
I can't remember.
It's more of a post player, I think. Guard. No, she's guard. We just started our scouts, so.
We did the scout 20 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
so give us some time to freshen up on that, and then we'll get back to you.
Overall, from yesterday's game, what do you think you all need to shore up the most coming out of that game in order to be successful against Ohio State and potentially other opponents down the road?
I think a big thing for us will just be taking care of the ball, because we know that we're good when we can play with connected possessions, connected on offense, connected on defense. So just making sure that we can take care of it with the full court, because we're aware of their full court pressure that has disrupted a lot of teams. So with that in mind, we just want to be very cognizant about how we move together.
Can you speak to the clutch play from Deja last night in big moments? You all looked to her a lot, and it happened again last night, and I guess you come to expect the kind of play that she gave you all last night.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the game, she's definitely a person we want to have the ball in the hands of, and for big moments like that, and big plays like that. And I mean, we knew how we needed to score at the end, and she was able to execute it really well, along with Tiani setting a great screen for her. So I was just proud of how we executed, honestly.
Got a fun one for you, Eva. The bucket hat.
Yes,
Where did
thank you.
it come from? How'd you get all those pins?
Yes,
What's
good
the story for the people?
Yes, the people must know. Well, I originally got the bucket hat last year when we were in Arizona for March Madness. And actually, Alyssa encouraged me to buy it. I was like walking around Dick's Sporting Goods with it on. And I was like, it kind of feels like a vibe. And it was beautiful weather, so it was fitting. And then the pins on the front, they're the March Madness ones from every round. I'm still waiting on mine for this year, and then I kind of got the idea of just like, let's add some pins. And so as you go around, there's different Tar Heel ones, there's an ACC one. Robbie has been giving me plenty to add. So if anyone has pins that think they're deserving of going on the hat, let me know, because it just there's plenty more space. But I am the OG bucket hat person, despite the NCAA gifting everyone with one. I think I was a trendsetter in that
I think
fashion.
you inspired it,
I think so.
without a doubt.
Oh, one more kind of fun as well. Matt Andrews, Ohio State Learfield. Eva, I read in the notes where you're one of 7 children in
Yeah.
the family. There are 6 McGuff kids.
Okay.
What's it like? Can you give us any idea of
Yeah.
having that many siblings?
Oh my gosh, well, there's never a dull moment. I have 5 brothers as well, and so there's just constant back and forth. But I mean, I've loved it. It's been an absolute blast. I mean, as a kid, literally, your friends were your siblings. And so you would go outside or play sports or literally do anything. You could just be like, hey, you want to do it? And they'd be like, I mean, I have nothing. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, exactly. And it's fun, too, because it's almost a team atmosphere in itself. I was born into like 5. Like, I finished out the starting 5 for my family. And so it's definitely a fun dynamic. And I love my family very dearly. So it's just been fun to watch all of them grow and develop in different ways and have them support me throughout this fun journey, too.
Anything else? Alyssa, Eva, thank you very much. We'll
In the
see you
back.
tomorrow. Do we have one in the? Oh, you know what? We do. We've got one from Zoom. Hank, can you hear us all right? And if so, go ahead and ask your question.
I can hear you. Thank you. Does having weathered a close game in the first game somehow provide a sense of comfort to make it, just kind of, I don't know, you're there. I mean, does it make you more comfortable going into the second game, having survived the first one?
You want this? You want me?
Maybe both.
Okay. Definitely. I think to be able to weather a close game like that, where towards the end of the game it swung in their direction even, and at points you were unsure of who was going to get the last touch. To be able to weather that, I think, is really important for our team just as a whole, and for those like Paulina and even Tiani, who didn't necessarily get to play in March Madness last year. They were able to experience a very high-intensity game right off the bat, and so it sets you up well moving forward, I think.
And in addition to that, I think we had multiple games throughout the season that were very close, some of which we've come out with a win, others were a heartbreaking loss. But I think that game last night is just another one of those games where we've had multiple experiences in. So we're very comfortable in that setting in the court. But when you're outside or on the bench or in the stands, it's very nerve-wracking. But on the court, we're always like, guys, we got this. We can do it. We've been here before.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Cameron.
Cam with The Athletic. I had 2 questions for you. You came in with Deja. Somebody described her to me as a silent killer, because she's kind of the same mood the whole time. What's it been like to see her growth? And then what's it like on the floor when you have a ball handler and your leader on the floor who's so calm, even in the toughest moments?
It's absolutely incredible. I am very blessed to be able to be a teammate to Deja Kelly. Like you reminded me, like she is a silent killer, and we go to her towards the end of the game, and I think everybody knows that the ball is going to be in her hands, and she still is able to execute with everybody in the gym knowing she's probably going to get the last shot. So it's just been a blessing to be a part of her team, and there is a lot of comfort when she has the ball because I know that she'll be able to take care of it, and then I'm there if she needs me for like an outlet pass. And then just to see her grow throughout her career as a leader has been the most impressive thing to me. Like, I knew that she was going to grow in different areas of her game, and she's it's excelled so much in that sense. But to watch her grow as a leader and just be able to bring everybody else along in her team has been very impressive to be able to witness right next to her.
Good. Okay, Eva, Alyssa, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Right. How's everybody doing?
Great. Courtney, thank you so much for joining
you
us. Maybe an initial thought, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, just live to survive to live another day. So we're looking forward to the next challenge, which we know will be a good one. 2 really good teams here in Columbus.
Great. And folks, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you.
Matt Krause, Tar Heel Sports
Hi.
Network
Yeah.
with Learfield. Coach, obviously on this national stage, there's so much attention paid to this junior class that they've laid the foundation. But yet, when you needed the clutch plays down the stretch, it's your rookies, Paulina and Tiani, that make some big plays there in the waning minutes. How rewarding is that as a coach to see them step up on this stage?
Yeah, and also it's part of it is the leadership of Eva and Malou and those juniors, giving them, the confidence throughout the year. and the expectation and the standard, that you come here and you contribute. That's what you do, and your journey, everyone's journey looks different. But I met with both Tiani, Paulina, I met with them all, but Paulina and Tiani in particular right after the ACC tournament and said, this is 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a long time for a freshman, so you need to be 2 weeks better. But yeah, them shining, given how hard they've worked and how much they've kind of bought into the journey is always makes a coach happy.
Okay.
Hey.
Ariel Bonham, Tar Heel Tribune. The day after, is it more of a sense of relief than anything else after the back and forth and the drama at the end of that game last night?
We knew that, St. John's is a really good team. They've got 6 guys that have 5 or more years of college basketball experience, right? And as Matt just alluded to, we have the opposite of that, right? So we knew that their athletic mortality was staring them in the face, and that it's a team that had beaten some really, really good teams. And what our defense does is it forces you to take tough shots. What they're good at is making tough shots. So we knew the matchup right away was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I think we were hoping we'd play better, I think. And so I think there was a chance for us as a group to regroup and say, winning in March at some point, in November, you care what it looks like. In March, you don't. And so I had to learn that lesson myself, and I had to then exude it to my guys that it's a win, and I'd rather win in any way possible, regardless. I'm sure Ohio State wasn't celebrating how they played either, right? They're just glad that there was a win, and they move on to play again.
What areas do you think the team needs to improve upon their performance to compete against Ohio State and possibly others down the road?
Yeah, just a totally different team. Ohio State is totally different than either Purdue or whoever we just played, St. John's. So Ohio's going to run a lot of press. If they can score, then they'll be pressing a bunch. So that will extend the floor. Whereas St. John's was more packed it in, right? So they're totally different in that way. And then also St. John's can really hurt you behind the arc. Ohio State's going to be more aggressive at the rim. So they're just totally different teams. And so same deal. In March, I'm not going to worry about what we have to get better in. I'm going to worry about how to game plan and beat Ohio State.
Does Mike Selt remind you of anybody you've seen this season? And the style that Ohio State plays, does that remind you of any team you played this season?
I think their pressure defense a little bit like Duke's. Mike Cassell is a great shooter, much like Virginia Tech has a bunch of them. And then you've got Cody McMahon's a problem. I mean, she's a problem. She's a ACC level athlete playing in the Big Ten. And so we've played a lot of great athletes like her that are relentless and whatnot. So there's bits and pieces of them, but when you get to March, you just sort of focus on literally the team. And so it's very little about me teaching them how to grow our offense or grow our defense, and it's literally completely obsessed on what Ohio State does and doing that.
Coach Matt Andrews, Ohio State Radio, Learfield. I was going to ask you about Ohio State, but let me switch that a little bit.
Yeah.
Ask you, over your coaching history, thoughts, run-ins, relationship with Kevin McGuff?
Oh yeah, I was in. Hill might remember. Oh, we were in 4 hours from Antarctica. We were in Chile, and I didn't get a car because I was just going to Uber around. I would have assumed there would be more English speaking down there. Well, he and his wife rented a car. So here I was at the gym, and after the game, when I say it was cold, I'm from New Hampshire. I mean, it was cold. And I didn't bring a warm enough jacket because I was too lazy to carry it on the airplane. And so I would think I was wearing a Clemson jacket from my friend who coaches at Clemson. And I was like, hey, Kevin, I need a ride back to the hotel. And he's like, I got you. So, you've been in the business a long time. So when you get to this level, when you get to this far along in your coaching journey, you know them all pretty well. But he's one of the good guys.
Courtney Cameron with The Athletic. 2 questions. One, you mentioned Cody McMahon.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what stands out to you about somebody who looks that comfortable on the floor, that confident on the floor, but is a freshman?
Yeah, she's like LeBron James in a lot of ways. She's really physical. I mean, if you put her in football pads, she'd be a tight end, right? And so her physicality is part of what you're guarding in that way. And she's playing fearlessly, partly because I'm not sure she entirely knows what she's doing. And that's a beautiful thing for freshmen. I would say the same of our guys. They don't necessarily know what they're doing. Like Kayla McPherson's more like a running back, right? She'll run it down your throat before you realize that she just went by you. And part of her beauty is that she's not afraid of the moment because she hasn't been in it before.
And second, on Deja, she is. I mean, I just had asked Alyssa. Someone described her to me as a silent killer. She's very calm, but she has this kind of. She's really competitive. When you have someone like that who is also your ball handler, how does that help you as a coach? Because the team seems to feed off how she's feeling at all times.
Well, I think, I'm not saying they're wrong, but what I know of Deja is not silent. I think it's just that Eva is so vocal, and Deja's pretty vocal, and she's pretty fiery, and she's not letting these moments go by without her imprint, right? And so I think really what Deja is known for in our locker room and in our team is just her relentless competitiveness. So she doesn't always mince words. She doesn't always care how they're received. She just cares about winning. But I wouldn't put her. I'd put her in the assassin. I wouldn't put her in the silent assassin category.
Coach, we're going to go to a question from Hank Kurtz from the Associated Press from Zoom. Hank, can you hear us all right? And if so, go ahead and ask your question.
I can hear you. Thank you. Coach, you mentioned surviving and advancing, and how in November you care more what the games look like than now you just want to win. But how much value is there for young players to have survived and weathered what you guys did yesterday and come out on top?
Yeah, I've always said this. There's just really no replacement for experience, and I know that I was a head coach at 29 at Princeton, and I was so worried about making sure I knew what to run, when to run it, and I realized it's much more about winning your locker room, right, than it is about what you're running. So, but you learn that from experience, and so, those guys getting the experience they got yesterday and that they've gotten in big ACC games clearly was pivotal, and that's partly what you care about in November is using your bench so that you can count on them when you need to. I think we've done a good job of that. I think everybody on our team has played impactful minutes, and we were able to celebrate that and ensure they knew that coming into the tournament that there were multiple moments for each player that we relied on them, and you guys saw that last night.
Is it maybe more valuable to have played such a close game to start it off?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think you do package them really differently. I think there could be value in that. I'm not sure. If we win, we'll say yes.
Thank you.
You got it.
Any other questions here? Coach, thank you very much. We'll see you
Thanks.
tomorrow.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Taylor, Ebony, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for questions now.
Thomas Costello, Lindgren, Holy Land. Thanks for your time. Watching North Carolina yesterday and just kind of preparing, what do you see from the Tar Heels?
Obviously we just want to make it tough for the guards to score. We want to pack the paint so it's not easy for them to, get a post feed in there. And so we're just working on our scouts and knowing our personnel, and we're just going to try to execute that as best we can for it to be hard for them to score.
Yeah, I mean, they are a tough team. We give every team that we play respect. We definitely analyze each one of the players, and at the end of the day, we still want to focus on what we do. So we want to make sure that we execute our plays and our defenses as well.
And then Taylor, also the mask. When did you injure the face that you're needing to wear the mask now during the games?
I injured it last Wednesday.
Matt Andrews, Ohio State Radio. Taylor, to that point, was it tricky initially to get used to it? Are you used to it? It looked like it bothered you a little bit in the first half, but maybe got better as the game went on yesterday.
It's definitely an adjustment, obviously, but I don't let it get in my head, and I just try to work with it. I don't really have a choice, but I'm working through it, and it's definitely going to be a process, but I don't let it get to me.
And Ebony, you've now integrated into the starting lineup. What are your thoughts on having that role? And you become like this 17-foot jump shot specialist. I know you didn't hit a ton of them against Iowa, and yesterday a couple of them, but you're comfortable just inside the arc outside, right?
Yeah, I just do a great job of just trying to find the open spots on the floor. I know we have a great team with people that can get to the basket. We have Cody that can post up almost anybody. We have teammates that can almost hit any three-point shot. So I just want to find my range where I can help our team and alleviate some of the pressure that's on them too, or whoever else is on the floor.
Bailey Johnson, Columbus Dispatch. You guys have kind of made a habit of comebacks this year, but obviously it's not the ideal plan, I would assume. What do you have to do tomorrow to start well and not get in a spot where you have to come back?
Yeah, definitely trying to work on not digging ourselves a hole or being in a deficit every single game, because that's not going to work against every team, and that's just something that we're working on, and we're just going to try our best to play our game and try to execute things as best as possible. So definitely avoiding that.
Right, I totally agree. I know also the comebacks come to kind of plays a role into how much we care about each other and how much we really just want to win at the end of the day. We definitely don't have the best stats. We don't have the tallest people. We don't have the fastest people, whatever it may be, but we do find a way to collectively win at the end of the day for each other and for ourselves.
Thomas Costello, Land Grant. Throughout the season, you played against centers like Mackenzie Holmes and Monica Sonato. What do you see from Alyssa Utsby for North Carolina? Does she remind you of anybody you played against this season, or what stands out about her?
Yeah, definitely as a post player, I think everyone has their own individual skill set. I definitely evaluate each one of the players that we play against as their own person. I don't ever try to, kind of compare them because they're all different. They're all great in their own ways. She's definitely a great player, definitely physical, but I'm excited to, just have that kind of competition and do the best I can against her.
Matt Andrews, Ohio State Radio, one for each of you. Ebony, your first NCAA tournament game yesterday, your third school. What did it feel like? And then Taylor, go ahead.
It was exciting. At the end of the day, it kind of just I don't want to say it felt like another game, but I've been doing my best to play every game like it's my last, especially this being my senior year. The last time I was in this position, COVID hit. So it's like a big deal to actually be able to play in this tournament and have friends and family be able to come down and watch and sit in the stands. So it's a big deal. But at the end of the day, I just want to do whatever I can for my team. I just want us to win at the end of the day the best we can.
And Taylor, for you, 4 o'clock tomorrow. Can you talk about the atmosphere yesterday? They sensed your run, the crowd. They got kind of into the game, and you guys kind of fed off that energy, it appeared. But now the NCAA clearly caring more about TV ratings than fans coming here. Set a 4 o'clock game tomorrow, so you got to take a half day almost on a Monday, whatever. But what will that be like, and what will that mean if you get some of these fans back here tomorrow for that atmosphere again?
Yeah, no, the environment and the crowd that we played in front of last game was very exciting and very fun. It was loud, and so, I think that helps us. Our fans help us a lot, and so I think that's going to be a fun environment to play on Monday tomorrow. So.
Ariel Bonham, Tar Heel Tribune. Ebony, what do you remember about playing the Tar Heels when you were up at Syracuse and how those games went?
So actually, I didn't even get the chance to play against them. That's another crazy part, but I definitely was a part of the scouting. I didn't play too many games at Syracuse, but I was able to actually watch. And I always say God works in mysterious ways because as an early player, I never watched basketball. I just always wanted to play. And having that year where I did have my injury gave me a chance to learn in different ways, really analyze different players, what their tendencies are, because you can't really see certain things when you're actually playing. But being able to sit and watch certain players and their tendencies, what they like to do, how they win, how they may lose, is like a really big key to why I kind of am the way I am today.
What was your injury last season?
It was kind of a concussion, but, almost like undisclosed, but yeah.
All right, ladies, we're going to go to a question from Zoom. Hank Kurtz from Associated Press down in around North Carolina. Hank, go ahead.
Hey, just wondering, when you get the first win out of the way, is it easier to be more comfortable now?
Definitely not. I think every game is going to be hard, and we can't just look at it, oh, we won this game, so the next one's going to be easy. Everybody's going to be playing their hardest. I mean, this is a crazy month. There's upsets, so we're just going to approach every game like it's going to be our last. So I think we just have to go in with that mindset, and we'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I totally believe that because the competition only gets harder the more that you go. At the end of the day, even from the beginning of the first round, you're playing against winners and championships or their champions of their league. So you have to play everybody like, basically like they're the best.
Is it good to have less time to worry about it? You guys had like a week, looking ahead, and now you're like boom, boom, quick scout and all that stuff.
I definitely think preparation is key. So obviously having as many days as we can to prepare is nice, but this is a quick turnaround, and so I think it's just even more important that we lock in and really focus and trust each other when we play this next game.
Totally, and we practice this throughout the season. We have a lot of quick turnarounds of different tournaments that we've been in before, so we've kind of been ready for this. But at the end of the day, like I kind of alluded to earlier, we do focus on what we do as well, be the team that we could be, regardless of what they may be running. As long as we communicate and like simple things like that, we'll get the best results.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Ebony, Taylor, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Kevin McGuffin. We're just going to go right to questions. Go ahead.
Thomas Costello, Lane Great Holy Lane. Thanks for the time, Coach. Looking ahead to UNC, you talked a couple weeks ago about how the Big Ten, they throw so many different defenses at you, and it kind of helps prepare you for this. Is there any team that UNC kind of reminds you of within the conference?
Yeah, boy. Well, it's kind of different because they when they go smaller, they would remind you of Maryland a little bit. Really athletic, quick up the court, a really good scoring lineup. Creating great spacing, and when they go a little bigger, it still probably like somewhere in between Maryland and Indiana. And so I think those teams are good kind of guides as to the level of team that I think North Carolina is. They're incredibly talented and well coached, and we know we'll have a real challenge tomorrow.
And then yesterday you were kind of alternating Ebony and Rebecca for defensive and offensive purposes.
Yeah.
Going up against Alyssa Utsby, what do you see in that matchup tomorrow?
Yeah, no, she's a great player. Really difficult matchup because she's got great skill and seems to have a great basketball IQ. When she catches it around the basket, she's very patient and kind of reading the floor and seeing where she can make her move and get to the rim. She's also really good. She catches a lot at the high post, and she squares up, and she can shoot it or pass it. And so just a really, really tough matchup. One of the better kind of forwards in the country, in my opinion.
Haley Johnson, Columbus Dispatch. Kevin, you guys have kind of made a habit of comebacks this year, but I know it's not how you would prefer to be winning games. What are the keys tomorrow in starting well and not ending up in a situation where you have to come back?
I think we didn't make any shots early yesterday, and so we got to make sure we one, are executing at a high level on the offensive end, and two, getting some balance in our offense. We're not settling for threes or usually if we're not getting balance is that we're settling for threes. So we got to try to get to the rim, maybe get to the free throw line, just to generate some offense early to allow us to get in an offensive rhythm.
Matt Andrews, Ohio State Radio. Turnover numbers for the two teams are very similar. What do they do well defensively? And then after that, I've got a second.
Yeah, I think they game plan really well, and so they kind of look at your actions and try to figure out ways to take it away. And they've got really, really fast, quick, athletic players who get their hands on a lot of balls and disrupt you, and so make it a little bit harder to run offense.
And you play at 4 tomorrow. The crowd yesterday was incredible. What is your feeling on starting a little earlier, and how much could that help you tomorrow to have people come out?
Well, yeah, I'm hopeful that we can get another great crowd. It was extraordinary yesterday. I thought they were great, and it was a great environment for both teams to play in, and I'm hopeful we can do the same thing tomorrow. And, it's an earlier start, but, hopefully people can find a way to get here. Should be a great matchup, and we need you. We need you guys out here to make this a great environment.
And so far this year, UNC's played a couple Big Ten teams, had some trouble against Indiana and Michigan. What have you kind of seen that was effective against them?
Yeah, North Carolina is kind of similar to us in the regard of when they've had their highs, they're easily a top 10 team in the country. Now they've had some days where they weren't that, and we've done the same thing. And so that's going to be the interesting part is who can kind of show up and be the best version of yourself, because boy, when they're really, really good, they're really, really good. And I think the same about us. And so I don't know. I think it's a really interesting matchup from that standpoint.
Any other questions for Kevin?
Thank you.
Coach, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, great.